So I'd now like to welcome to the stage our next speaker, Andrew Cullen, CEO of Portsmouth Football Club. Andrew joined Pompey in June 2021, having held senior positions in football for the last 25 years, previously at MK Dons and Norwich City. But we won't hold it against you. He has experience working across all 4 divisions in English professional football and has also served as a board director of the English Football League. Would you like to be at the lectern, Andrew, or would you rather a roving mic?
Come to the lectern first and then I'll wander.
Wonderful. And Andrew's very brave because he's also agreed to do a Q&A at the end of his presentation. So if you put your hand up at that time, you'll see Marion and Gemma will have roving microphones and they will come and find you.
Thank you.
Over to you, Andrew.
Thank you so much. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Steph, for having me here today. It's a real privilege to be part of this conference. Steph was one of the very first people I met when I came to Portsmouth, and he's press-ganged me in 18 months later to come along today. A little bit about me, for those of you who don't know me. I've had a great introduction there. In fact, I've lived a dream because when I left university thousands of years ago, I went to work in the brewery industry for about 15 years, then found myself in football for 25 years. So I've lived every student's dream over the last sort of 40 years or so. So I've, as you know, as just been said, 25 years in football, and I came to Portsmouth 18 months ago. It was a fabulous opportunity that was being given to me. It's a real honour, it's a responsibility, but most of all, it's a really, really exciting time to have come to the football club with so much going on. And those of you with an interest in football and an interest in Pompey will know that I've been quite busy over the last 2 weeks doing 1 or 2 things. But more about that later, perhaps. So a busy start to the year. I think for me, probably the first thing to do was to just reflect on the conference aims and tell you a little bit about how Pompey fits into that. So the central focus will be on the past and present and the future of what is happening to transform our city. And I think as one of the key institutions, we've just obviously heard from Andy about all the fabulous work that's going on here at the Guildhall. I think there's so much going on at Fratton Park as well, which I can share with you. And what we're trying to do to take the football club forward and take it through the divisions and give you all a football club that represents the city, but most importantly, that you can be proud of. So how does Portsmouth sort of fit it all in that? And I suppose the first thing to recognise is the commitment to keeping a football club in Portsmouth. I think for those of you who don't know or don't know about the history, the club experienced some real financial difficulties over a 4-year period from 2009. And then in 2013, when things were looking particularly bleak, the club was saved by its supporters. They didn't abandon the club. They saved the club and took it on to the next stage to keep it going. And there's lots of stories elsewhere in football where that didn't happen. And I think that was one of the things, that amazed those of us who were working at other football clubs at the time about how the supporters rallied round to take the football club forward. That was something that really, really resonates with me and something that I never forget in my role. And the consultation, the various communication groups we have with so many bodies are truly important to the way we take the football club forward. Now, in 2017, the fans sold the football club to Michael Eisner and his family. Michael, as many of you will know, is a former CEO of Disney, a very prominent figure in the entertainment and film and arts industry. And one of the first things that he and his family did was to explore different sites in and around Portsmouth. They visited a number of stadiums across the country. They went abroad. They even came to Stadium MK, where I was, which is where I met them for the first time. And they were sort of looked at the possibility of building a new stadium. Obviously, there weren't many sites in which they were able to do that in Portsmouth. So they looked at potential opportunities outside the island. But I think the thing that really got them was the atmosphere, the history, the character of Fratton Park. And that was something that they came to a decision that it wasn't really suitable to move off the island and lose the club's rich identity And so the decision was made to stay at Fratton Park. The problem was, it was falling down. And we were having, the football club was having a lot of issues in terms of capacity. The most important thing that football supporters want to do when they go to a football match, it's not necessarily about winning the game, it's not necessarily about the half-time entertainment, it's about feeling safe. And Fratton Park clearly wasn't safe. And so restrictions were put on the capacity. So a capacity with around 20,000 was slowly going to be eroded down to a figure when I arrived of about 15,500, which we were able to get back up to 16. But if we hadn't have done the works, we were certainly going down to a capacity of 10,000, which just didn't make the football club viable. So what they've done is to embark on an investment programme. £11 million has been invested into Fratton Park to bring free stands up to speed. And that all done in a very, very stressful time post-pandemic when football clubs, like many businesses in here, weren't having any revenue. But of course, we had obligations to pay the players who were under contracts. There was no dispensation not to pay the players. So although staff were furloughed, like many people, the players weren't. So they had that commitment to do as well. So we've done a lot of work. The first project we had, and this wasn't on the spec when I came in, was to relocate 2,000 season ticket holders mid-season in January last year, which was some challenge to get round that. And I thought, well, where do I start? So I called the supporters in who were in that area, and there's a group of 30, and we worked out a programme where we were able to relocate people. But the North Stand is now complete. We have completely reprofiled the lower tier, which now means it's safe. There's no sort of difficulties when you walk across the concrete. It's got wide areas, better access, egress. We've done a lot of work with the concourses, refurbished all the catering bars, and we are seeing a really, really big improvement in spend per head when people come into the stadium in terms of what we've done with our partners, Piglet's Pantry. The stand's also been developed so that in time we can take that roof off and develop and increase the capacity even further. And that would be the next stage in the programme of what we want to do. When the time is right and when the stars are all aligned, we can make that happen and take the capacity up even further. But the lower tier can stay the same, and all the work will be done in the upper tier when we go forward. The next stage we did was the South Stand, and this is probably the more iconic stand at Fratton Park. Fratton Park was developed by a famous football architect called Sir Archibald Leach, and you'll see his work at Fulham with the famous cottage, Sheffield Wednesday, Glasgow Rangers, Aston Villa, to name other clubs, and Everton. And Portsmouth was one of the clubs that he designed way back at the beginning of the last century. And there's a lot of lattice work there you'll see on the top right-hand corner. And that lattice work was sort of the hallmark of what Archibald Leach actually did in most of his stadiums. And most of that was covered up at Fratton Park. So part of the renovation has been to expose that lattice work and bring that back and again add to the history and the character of the stadium. We had what was, for me, was a white knuckle ride as well. The old South Stand was in two tiers. There was a hanging basket over midway, and then down below you went into a moat. And that moat was the family area. And if you were an 8-year-old, you had players hurtling towards you, which you either loved or probably been pretty scared about. But that's one of the things we've rectified. So everything now as it stand at ground level. And again, the bars, the access, the egress has all been sort of improved. So that has been, that's the next stage now open, and those North Stand and South Stands opened, and we've got our capacity back up this season to 19,500, which is an amazing achievement from where we were. And the third piece of the jigsaw at the moment is the Milton End, which is where our away supporters go. One of the horror stories of coming to Fratton Park is DDA access. And we had a real issue, and I working at two football clubs, every time our supporters went to Fratton Park from Norwich and MK Dons, they came back full of complaints about the conditions they had to endure. They had to sit in the rain, they had to sit with the home supporters in the Fratton End, and the facilities weren't brilliant. And the club, particularly through our trust and our community scheme, do their very, very best to look after those supporters in wheelchairs, but it has not been fantastic experience at all. So the new away end will now allow away supporters to sit with their own fans. It will be serviced by a lift, which can take up to 20 people. Also, those with mobility issues up to the higher areas of the stand, and all that will be completed in the autumn. We also have put new DDA seating as well in the north stand and the south stand in different locations as well. So improving it to from about 20 seats to well over 100 seats now, which means that we're far more compliant and we're giving people a far more enjoyable experience. And that's all part of that programme. And then in addition, in June 21, this is on my second day here, we acquired the training ground. Nothing to do with me, but caused one or two problems. When we went around the gym with Steve Cripps from PMC, we noticed that there were leaks coming from the spa and there was water flowing out of the walls. And my first job was to actually have to close the spa down on my second day of taking it over. And we also had to close the play football down, which was full of nails coming up, ripped carpets, not a great experience. And when you probably saw some of those health and safety issues and you saw Michael Eisner's name above the door, probably the best thing was to close it down because you could see lawsuits coming everywhere. So we've now spent about £2.5 million refurbishing the main building and the training ground. This is a new Pompey Health and Fitness Club, the old Roco building. We've completely brought the spa down to the swimming pool level. We've got new steam room, new hot tubs, new saunas have all gone in. Absolutely fantastic facility. A lot of people in the community use that facility to swim. So it's always been our intention to make sure that we maintain that facility and don't turn that completely over to football. We have just over 2,000 members now. So it's a facility that we see will enable us to generate some revenue from it, which we can then reinvest back into the training ground facilities. The gym itself, you can see there, has been completely, again, refurbished. What we've done is to make the gym ready so we can eventually move all the first team over into that building alongside the gym. They'll have their own private areas, but to use the Pompey Health and Fitness Club, you will be training alongside elite athletes, which we think is a really, really strong, compelling proposition. Now, the other thing that we've worked on since I've been here is to just reevaluate our vision and values. And the first thing was, I think what I've done is to try and sit down with all my staff and say, all my colleagues, wherever they work, whether they work in the academy, the first team, whether they work in maintenance, whether they work in safety, to actually identify what the football club is all about. And that's how we got to our vision. And the first thing they wanted to look at, and this is from themselves, was the Pompey spirit. And the Pompey spirit, I know, will mean different things to many, many different people. And these are the words that they came up with. Driven, passionate, hard-working, true history. Connectivity with the community was a really, really big thing. Teamwork, acknowledging of the Ireland mentality, which gives us the real identity, belonging, pride of the South, which is very, very important to any Portsmouth supporter. Iconic, very much the heartbeat of the city. The Red Sox came up as well, because that is, a lot of people talk to me about the Red Sox and the links to our traditions in the city and how important that is. And that was something really that I think gets underplayed a little bit and something we need to make a lot more. And of course, Saved by the Fans was something else. That, to them, epitomised the Pompey spirit. So we spent a bit of time, we looked at what the football club's vision was, what the purpose was, and we've really now sort of distilled that into that. So what do we want to be? We want to become a sustainable and inclusive football club. That's really important because it embodies our connection with the community. Of course, we want to be playing in the Premier League. We love to play in Europe, but we want to play at the highest level. And we've identified that we will achieve that by everybody within the organisation working together, whatever they do, whether they work in the grounds team, whether they're a player, whether they work in the academy, delivering conditions for success. And this is really important through taking pride in our club, our supporters, our city, and our community. So what we've then done is each department has looked at 5 core objectives. How do you, if you work in the grounds or the academy, deliver the conditions for success on the football pitch. You're not going to score a goal, but what you do is incredibly important. How do we make the football club sustainable in terms of making sure that we don't get into difficulties that the club found itself in many, many years ago, which led to the fans saving the club? How do we look at our role within the community? Really, really important. And how do we deliver brilliant service for all our supporters, for all our clients, for all our customers? And those are all things that each department has come up with. And the community one's really, really important because our academy came up with one where our first-year scholars, our 17-year-olds who come into the academy for the first team, what they've done this year is to select 2 local charities from a short list compiled with Claire and the community, Pompey and the Community Scheme, to support and raise awareness. And that's something we'll be doing annually. And that's what the academy want to do, to embrace their links with Portsmouth. The commercial team came up with wanting to host 20 themed match days where we can promote different aspects of the city at every game, and that's something that's about to kick off. The safety and the safety team and the operations team want to work more closely with the local residents around the stadium and the businesses to build on and create better neighbourly relationships, and we've done a lot of work we did a lot of work last year with the Platinum celebrations as well. So that's been incredibly important to making sure that we deliver against this vision and what we do. Now, one of the things that I'm really lucky to work with is a fabulous person, amazing person in Claire Martin, who looks after Pompey and the community. I'm going to say that as well because Claire's following me up here. So, but and together we work in so many different ways to deliver so much work. I mean, in over the pandemic, I think several hundred food parcels were delivered by Pompey and the community. There was a lot of outreach work going around and checking on people that they were able to deliver. It was absolutely fantastic. And of course, they've got their own project about to start, which will impact on the community, which is the John Jenkins Stadium, which will open shortly and will become a real community hub for so many different things. And I think it's worth reflecting on. I just received yesterday this report. It's an absolutely massive report. It's called Measuring the Impact of EFL Clubs in the Community. And what it's done, it's researched what football clubs do to inspire and motivate and create opportunities for different people of all backgrounds in the community. And the research has shown that Football League clubs, the 72 Football League clubs, delivered £865 million of social value across their full range of community initiatives. That's a collective project, and that's broken down by 351 value coming from community and social outcomes, £318 million from outcomes relating to mental health and well-being, 151 million from education, training and employment outcomes, and 43 million from those relating to physical health. And that's truly important. I think it goes back to the responsibility that every football club, and particularly this one, which is award-winning in the community, feels a responsibility towards delivering. And it's not just Pompey in the community, but it's where we can make an impact with our partners. So many of you know that we're very, very proud to have the University of Portsmouth across our shirts. And one of the projects that we've embarked with them on is to offer local students the opportunity to go to university. So we're funding a scholarship. Our third scholarship is about to be commenced in terms of applications. And what that does is it particularly selects an individual whose family has a household income of less than £25,000. None of their family have been to university in the past, and it really is all part of, I think, one of the themes of today that came up in Andy's previous presentation is raising educational aspirations and attainments across Portsmouth. And this is truly important to us to actually activate our partnership and make it work. And I'm really, really proud of that relationship that we have with the University of Portsmouth. The other one I want to mention as well is we have another key partner, PMC, who've helped develop our stadium. And they've got 2 fabulous projects which are running in conjunction at Fratton Park. The first is called Edge of Care. I think they were approached by the Children's Health Services at the council with an opportunity for a young individual who they have taken on and given the opportunity to work at Fratton Park as part of somebody who was, from a very, very difficult background. I won't go into too much detail, but it's an opportunity that Fratton Park has created for that individual through PMC. And then, of course, there's another project that they do, which is work experience with Crookhorn College. 2 15-year-olds are able to come into the stadium and do a 2-week work experience program, working on the site and preparing for a match day, which is a truly incredible opportunity. So really, it is different ways that we can use the football club to inspire, motivate, and create opportunities. And I think I just want to sum up and say really the 3 sort of core aims of what we have here of Shaping Portsmouth: business, education, community. They're at the forefront of everything we do. It's not just about playing football. We have that responsibility, we have that accountability, and that is hugely important that we work hard to do it. So I think my final comments were to recognise that as we have the responsibility, we have the accountability to deliver success. It's a huge privilege. We're all about delivering a message of Together Pompey, and it's not just about the football club, it's about embracing the community and everybody who works with us. We're proud to be Portsmouth, we're proud to wear the badge, we're proud to contribute to our community, we're proud to represent the city, and in return, if we get that right, we know the city will be proud of us. Thank you very much.
So if you have got any questions for Andrew about Pompey Football Club, and I'm sure we've got loads, pop your hand up now and Marion and Gemma will track you down.
Good morning. Hello. Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Absolutely brilliant. It's great to see that the club's being renovated and being brought back to where it should be. I'm not a Portsmouth fan. I'm originally from North Wales, so I'm a Wrexham fan, but this is where my question comes in. With Michael Eisner being who he is, are there any plans to do what Wrexham have done to look at putting Portsmouth on the map globally and showcase both the club and the fans in that respect?
Thank you. I think that's the Wrexham, for those of you who don't know, or a little bit don't watch much television. They've got a massive show on Amazon. They've been taken over by 2 Hollywood actors, and they've done a really good reality show which gets behind the scenes and shows how they have what their role is in the football club and how they're developing it. I think it's something that Michael and his family would look at, but of course they are not film stars, they're not film actors, and there's a huge amount of reality programs around football at the moment. There's a couple at the moment that are covering women's football, which is fantastic. We've seen that with West Ham doing a behind-the-scenes reality show, and one with Dorking Wanderers at the other end of the scale. There's been the Sunderland programs, the Arsenal programs, the Mourinho entertainment, which was particularly resonant as Dele Alli was getting pelters from Jose, and of course I worked with Dele at MK for a few years. So it was. I think it's something we look at, but I think we have to find, what the point of differentiation is if we're able to do that. But they're very, very alive to it. But I think it would be entirely different from what Rob is doing at Wrexham and his people, because they are film stars and they actually have got that thing. So developing the club internationally, taking it broader than that, is hugely important. And that really starts to come as you progress through the leagues. The Premier League is a multi-billion-pound worldwide business, and that's something which has worked really, really well. So if we can get that point of differentiation, that's something we would certainly want to be involved in.
Hi Andrew, Mike from Blake Morgan. Obviously all of the investment in former Roco is fantastic, and the stadium is looking really, really positive. There's been suggestions that the actual training pitches at Roco perhaps aren't fit for purpose, or maybe that's part of the reason why we've had a few training injuries with Lowry and other players like that who still don't have a return date. Adjacent to the Roco pitch is obviously the rugby club. and there's been suggestions as well in the news that the St John school pitches in the north of the city have been linked with Portsmouth as well. Is there any sort of anything behind the scenes, or is there any truth in that, perhaps relocating the rugby club and buying those adjacent fields, or perhaps moving the academy to those St John's pitches, or is there anything in the pipeline to essentially develop that area of the training ground?
I think you're looking for a scoop. Look, I really can't go into too much detail on specifics about what we're doing. So we are very, very keen to, we currently Academy trains out of 7 sites at the moment. We use a number of facilities across Portsmouth. A number of great people support us in that, from the Royal Navy, the university, and some of the schools and colleges that have the facilities. So yeah, the point of buying the training ground is that we can develop it. We would love to do, we'd love to have some more land, but we have to work with all different stakeholders around the city to make that happen. But if I can get down from 7 sites to ideally 2, that would be the vision that we would want to get to. In terms of pitches, we do have obviously 3 pitches up there that we have access to. We, most land in Portsmouth, we have a very, very high water table, so the pitches are prone to flooding, but that would probably be true of any site in the island, including some of the facilities that you've just mentioned as well. So those are all things that we want to develop. We'd like to look at how we can create some 3G pitches. An indoor dome would be the next stage, and therefore we can start to create a world-class academy. The conditions are really important to us as well with the building, that we can start to move we have porter cabins currently where our first team are based, our management staff, our physio rooms, and if we can move everybody into the building, then we actually create some more land there as well, which would create more pitches. So those are all the things that we're working on. But I think one of the things we're also conscious of as well is we've put so much money into infrastructure over the last 2 or 3 years, and we just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of what we're here to do to progress the team and get to a stage where we get to a point where we can continue to invest heavily in our first team structure and our academy. That is crucial.
Thank you. And final quick question, if that's all right from the front.
It is quick. Hi Andrew. Just with regards to the vision and also the spirit, particularly the vision, just wondered how you went about creating that, and also, most importantly, how you made sure that actually permeates the entire organisation and motivates people.
Yeah, brilliant question. I mean, what's most important is that vision, and we've also created a set of values as well, as any organisation would want to do. But what was really important is it wasn't my vision and not my values. They've come from the team. So what we did was I set this project up about a couple of months after I came in, and I asked everybody to think about 3 great words that describe Portsmouth Football Club, but also the words that they didn't like. What were the poor things? And then we started to distill all those down, and we then had some sessions with each of the different teams. We broke them into 6 different department functions, and they all started to work through what they needed to do to improve the football club, and that was the first stage. And then we started to articulate what the key objectives would be within that, and then we came to the vision and values naturally stemmed out of them. The Pompey spirit was something that a couple of the groups really felt really strongly about, and as they explained that to the rest of the group and what that meant, that was hugely important, getting to what the values were and ultimately the vision. So we did all of that. The groups all came back, and then we had a sort of a cross-section where everybody then started to fine-tune everything into one piece. It's really important that it's not about words. It's about living them. It's about breathing them. It's about behaving. It's how we recruit people into our organisation, that they too embody the values that we've set out. So everything we do, it's all about it. But I've been very keen to avoid nice big slogans across walls. But everybody coming in to the football club is inducted into those, and it's very much part of people's, going to be part of people's appraisals going forward as well. How do you live against those values? And against those 5 core objectives that I outlined as well, the conditions for success, the community, the financial sustainability, making Portsmouth Football Club a great place to come to work. It should be. You should be really excited to come and work at a football club. And looking at how we deliver great service. All of those 5 things are embodied in everybody's objectives.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. The future's bright. My question, obviously, is when are we going to get to the Premier League?
That's another scoop. Thank you. Thank you very much.